I ate this during my fast, and my fat loss doubled. It's not a supplement. It's not some weird biohacking powder. It costs about 2 cents, and you probably have it in your kitchen right now. Here's why this matters. 38% of people who try fasting quit. Not because fasting doesn't work, not because they lack willpower, because they feel absolutely terrible and assume that's just what fasting is. It's not. They're missing one thing. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why you feel awful during fasts, what's actually happening in your body, and how this one simple addition can double your results by letting you actually stick with it. The answer is salt. I know, I can already hear you. Salt? That's the big secret? The thing my doctor told me to eat less of? Yes, and here's why. When you stop eating, your insulin levels drop. That's the whole point. Low insulin is what allows your body to access stored fat for fuel. It's what triggers autophagy. It's what makes fasting work. But insulin does something else that nobody talks about. It tells your kidneys to hold on to sodium. A study by DeFranzo found that insulin normally reduces sodium excretion by 47%, almost half. So when insulin plummets during a fast, your kidneys suddenly start flushing sodium like they're trying to set a world record. This is called natriuresis. It's a documented medical phenomenon, and the numbers are kind of insane. Research shows that sodium excretion peaks around day 4 of a fast at 1,600 to 3,500 milligrams per day. One hospitalized patient in a study lost 1,564 milligrams of sodium in a single day, along with almost a liter of water. Your body is literally dumping salt, and there's another mechanism making this worse. When your body produces ketones, which is what happens when you're burning fat, those ketones need to be escorted out through your urine. Guess what escorts them? Sodium. Your body is using sodium to take out the ketone trash. A study found the correlation between ketone excretion and sodium excretion was 0.89. That's almost perfectly linked. So you've got insulin dropping, kidneys flushing sodium, and ketones dragging more sodium out with them. It's a triple assault on your sodium levels. Now let's talk about what happens when sodium gets low. Headaches, fatigue, brain fog, dizziness, nausea, muscle cramps, weakness, difficulty concentrating. Sound familiar? That's what most people think fasting feels like. That's what makes them quit. But here's the thing. Those aren't symptoms of fasting. Those are symptoms of low sodium. They're the same symptoms you'd see in someone with hyponatremia, which is the medical term for sodium deficiency. Studies show that 8 to 25% of fasters report headaches. 18 to 28% report fatigue and weakness. 15 to 21% report dizziness. These symptoms typically appear within 2 to 3 days and peak around days 2 to 4, exactly when sodium excretion is highest. That's not a coincidence. You know what else has these exact symptoms? Keto flu. That miserable feeling people get when starting a ketogenic diet. A 2025 review stated directly that the most common cause of keto flu is low sodium, not carb withdrawal, not your body adjusting to ketosis, low sodium. And here's the part that should make you angry if you've ever white-knuckled through a fast feeling terrible. These symptoms can resolve within 15 minutes of adequate sodium intake. 15 minutes. Other sources say 24 to 48 hours for full resolution. Either way, you could have felt fine this whole time. All that suffering was optional. A Harvard study published in JAMA found that 38% of people doing alternate day fasting dropped out, higher than conventional dieting at 29%. The most common reasons? Adverse symptoms like dizziness, headache, and nausea. The exact symptoms of low sodium. People aren't quitting fasting because fasting is too hard. They're quitting because of a fixable electrolyte deficiency that nobody told them about. Now here's the question I know you're asking. Does salt break a fast? No, absolutely not. Salt has 0 calories. It does not spike insulin. It does not affect autophagy. It does not interfere with ketosis. A 2020 study in the Journal of Human Nutrition and Dietetics confirmed that pure salt does not cause an insulin response. Autophagy is triggered by nutrient deprivation and low mTOR activity. Salt affects neither of those things. Your cellular cleanup continues completely unimpaired. If anything, salt supports fasting. And here's where it gets interesting for fat loss specifically. A 2016 review in Frontiers in Nutrition found that increased hydration leads to increased lipolysis. Lipolysis is the scientific term for breaking down fat. When your cells are properly hydrated, fat burning actually improves. The inverse is also true. Mild dehydration decreases lipolysis. And here's the connection to salt. Without sodium, water can't be properly retained in your cells. You can drink all the water you want, but without electrolytes, it passes right through without actually hydrating your tissue. You're essentially a sieve. So when you fast without salt, you get dehydrated at the cellular level, which impairs fat burning, which defeats the entire purpose of fasting in the first place. There's more. Dehydration increases cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone. It's the belly fat hormone. We did a whole video on how cortisol specifically drives fat storage around your midsection. So by skipping salt during your fast, you're actually increasing the hormone that makes you store belly fat while decreasing the process that burns it. This is why I said fat loss doubled. Not because salt has some magical fat burning property, but because proper sodium intake lets you fast longer without feeling terrible, maintains the hydration status that supports fat oxidation, and prevents the cortisol spike that stores belly fat. You remove the obstacles that were sabotaging your results. Let me tell you how much salt you actually need. For standard intermittent fasting, like 16 to 8, you probably get enough from food during your eating window. Maybe add a pinch to your water if you feel off. For OMAD, 1 meal a day, aim for 2,500 to 3,500 milligrams of sodium. Add salt to your water throughout your fasting window. For extended fasting, 24 to 72 hours, you need 3,500 to 5,000 milligrams. Deliberate supplementation is essential. For prolonged fasting beyond 72 hours, you need 4,000 to 6,000 milligrams daily with a full electrolyte protocol including potassium and magnesium. Dr. Jason Fung, who's basically the godfather of therapeutic fasting, calls salt vital. He recommends bone broth with added sea salt during fasts and suggests adding a pinch to water anytime hunger or cravings hit. You can use any type of salt. Table salt works fine, sea salt works fine, pink Himalayan salt works fine. The trace minerals in fancy salts are present in such tiny amounts they're nutritionally insignificant. You would need to eat almost 4 pounds of Himalayan salt to meet your daily potassium requirement from those trace minerals. So don't spend extra money thinking you're getting meaningful micronutrients. You're not. The sodium content is nearly identical across all types. For a simple protocol, put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in a glass of water and sip it throughout your fasting window. That's about 600 milligrams. Do that 2 or 3 times during an extended fast, and you're covered. If you want to get fancy, LMNT electrolyte packets contain 1,000 milligrams of sodium plus potassium and magnesium for about $1.50 per serving. Or you can make snake juice for about 10 cents a day. 1 teaspoon of salt, ½ teaspoon of potassium chloride, which is sold as no salt, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a tiny pinch of food-grade Epsom salt mixed into 2 liters of water. Tastes terrible. Works great. Now let me address the elephant in the room, blood pressure. You've probably been told your whole life that salt is bad for blood pressure. And in the context of a standard diet, for some people, excess sodium can raise blood pressure. But fasting changes the equation completely. Here's what actually happens to blood pressure during fasting. It drops significantly. A 10-day medically supervised water-only fast showed average blood pressure reductions of 37/13 millimeters of mercury. People with stage 3 hypertension saw drops of 60/17. A large study of over 1,600 subjects found that 2/3 of people on blood pressure medication could reduce their medication during fasting. During a fast, you're not adding sodium to existing stores, you're replacing what you're losing. It's a completely different physiological situation. Medical fasting protocols actually note that diuretic medications should often be discontinued during fasting to avoid sodium levels dropping too low. A clinical fasting study with 46 obese individuals who received daily electrolyte supplements found no severe electrolyte disturbances, no dangerous drops in potassium, and serum sodium remained virtually unchanged throughout. Meanwhile, they lost an average of 56 pounds. That said, if you have kidney disease, heart failure, uncontrolled hypertension, or severe liver disease, talk to your doctor before supplementing sodium. If you're on blood pressure medications or diuretics, same thing. Get medical guidance. For healthy people with normal kidney function, developing dangerously high sodium levels during a fast is virtually impossible if you're drinking water normally and responding to thirst. The risk isn't too much sodium, the risk is too little. Here's the bottom line. The symptoms that make people quit fasting, the headaches, the fatigue, the brain fog, the feeling that this is impossible, those aren't inherent to fasting. They're symptoms of sodium deficiency caused by a predictable physiological response to low insulin. Salt doesn't break your fast. It has 0 calories and doesn't spike insulin. Proper hydration, which requires adequate sodium, actually supports fat burning. And the cortisol spike you get from being sodium depleted works against your belly fat goals. The unsexy secret that nobody talks about isn't a supplement or a hack or a special protocol. It's basic physiology. Your body dumps sodium when you fast. Replace it and you feel fine. Don't replace it and you feel terrible and quit. 38% of people who try fasting drop out. Most of them didn't need to. They just needed a pinch of salt. If this changed how you think about fasting, hit that subscribe button. I drop videos every week breaking down the science of what actually works. No gimmicks, no expensive supplements, just what the research shows. I'll see you in the next one.